that on a computer. When you knock on the door, does it change what you say?
Well, in terms of issues, I think Ben will agree the best way to walk in particular areas is to walk with a local person who lives and who comes from the neighborhood,
Right.
and then identify the local issues.
And that was the whole idea about having committee structure with Democrats and Republicans. The party structure, have somebody in that area. In New York City, I guess they call them block captains in the old precincts, but out here in Nassau County, they're committee men and women who live in those areas, whose job really is to find when new people walk in, to give them, move into the neighborhood, to give them voter registration forms, introduce themselves. And if you know people in that neighborhood, that's exactly what the best thing, as Mike suggests, is that to get those people to walk with you and introduce you.
Now, thus far, politics, as we've described it here, is very labor-intensive, very people-intensive. What do you think of people that are now saying the internet is the wave of the future?
I get on the internet every morning. I mean, that's part of the reason, because my newborn daughter's up every morning at 4 a.m. and I got nothing better to do, watch her in the swing and play on the computer. But I use it principally now to garner information. I look at the Congressional Quarterly. They have a website. They have this Winnipeg poll website, so I look at some of the different numbers. They have different races targeted. Obviously, I go to the different newsstands and pick up the day's news in different areas. And what I use it for is to try and see if there are any trends developing, if there's anything going on out there that I can pick up, that people, because what's great about the internet is that a lot of the stories that they're done will be analysis intensive. In other words, it won't be a sound bite that you'll get on television, or sometimes even in newspapers you don't get a full story. But here on the internet, they'll go on for pages and pages on certain stuff, or they'll give you all the statistics you could possibly want. And therefore, I'm able to look through that and pick the thing that I'm really interested in, go there and take a lot of the information off. As far as going back and putting out information, we're just playing around with possibly doing an assemblyman website. But the New York State Legislature has a website, and maybe we'll utilize that to put in bill ideas, try to get responses. I'm just not so sure of the audience we're playing to there. You know, that's the only problem with the website is you don't really know who from your area is coming into you. You know, and you can't do a user-specific website.
Now, we've heard a lot during this campaign year. You know, Carolyn McCarthy has a website. Dan Friese had a website. Why did you choose not to have one?
Because we didn't. Why have a website if you don't have things to put on it? In other words, I could do. I'm being honest. You know, I don't know how many different proposals I'd be able to put on it, and we weren't sure how we were going to structure it. I mean, some people I've heard, you know, even want to go and do a chat room in their website, be able to have conversations back and forth with individuals. That's a lot of time, and right now, that's really at a premium. We're looking at it in the future to see. First of all, I want to see how many hits you get. You know, I'm going to take a look at these other websites and see what kind of use they got. If they have a lot of use, then it may be something to consider. But again, where are the people coming from? Is it someone who's sitting in Washington, D.C. and decides, oh, I might be interested in checking and see this race. It seems to be a big race nationally. In which case, that's not necessarily conducive to votes or to having a conversation with people in your district.
I think it's going to be more prevalent. I think what's going to happen is that you're going to, every assemblyman, every state senator, I don't know about local officials, but I know the presidents, candidates for president have websites to talk about their positions on taxes and on a whole host of issues. And I think what may happen on the local level is that when bills come up and constituents and lobby groups want to find out how a particular assemblyman or assemblywoman or state senator feels about an issue, they're going to just call on the website, see a position on a bill, and then be able to really, really let you have it, or send a letter of support for your position on that. But I think that's where it's going to be helpful, especially with students and people who are interested on the Environmental Bond Act and things like that, what a particular candidate's position is on that, and an incumbent, even somebody who's in office. I think that could be very helpful.
Now, presently, you're not in the political business.
I was involuntarily retired.
You were involuntarily retired. If you chose to get back into it, do you think you would consider going on the internet, having a website?
Yeah, without question. And I think what's happened is that when I first started back in '87 running, we didn't have anybody who was in charge of computers of a campaign. After that, we did. Somebody in our campaign was assigned, and actually usually more than one person. There was a team to do computers and to look at the results and to put that information together. And I think that's inherent now in every campaign, whether you're running for Congress or on the local level. You're going to find somebody who's going to, and I'm sure somebody in your campaign is probably skilled in that area. And more I think it's become more specialized.
What would you put on your website if you were running? theoretically, we won't throw out a title, a race that you're going for, but just theoretically, what kind of things as a candidate would you think would be important to include?
I think you'd have to put your positions on taxes and with the police department staying on a county-wide level, where you stand on the death penalty issues. I think that are important to people. How are you going to, how are you going to balance the budget in Nassau County or in the town or in the state, whichever office you're running for? I think those positions can be articulated. You all have position papers. Put them on the website. Let people have access to them. I think that would be important. And you try to also make it as user-friendly and use a little PR to try to give it a little panache so that people will want to go in and use it.
That's the same thing for you?
Well, I'd start with a resume. Just, put out the qualifications. Someone wants to check out what you've done. I've had an opportunity to publish a couple of things. Put them out there. Put the title there, and if people want to go and get them, make sure that they can, in case that they have a particular interest. Now, granted, they're pretty esoteric topics, but then after that, I would probably pick 5 topics or 4 topics and do a topical discussion. Where's the state? And what I like doing this year is the then and now. That's the message we sell. What's where we were in 1994, let's say, on spending. 10% there, we cut spending this last year. Stuff like that, and try to see if you can't get response back from people as to different issues.